This is a 2005 Chevy Colorado. I didn't see any videos out there on how to replace the shocks or the springs on this truck, so I wanted to put together something. I'm going to replace the leaf springs and the shocks and the struts up front. I've got it up on jack stands, and now I'm going to remove the wheel. Next, I want to remove these U-bolts, but you need to compress the spring first, otherwise this part will just spring down. So I've just got a jack I'm going to put under this side of it. I'm going to jack this up, and that'll be able to remove the U-bolts. I'm just going to get a little bit of oil on the bolts, make them a little bit easier to come off. You might need a breaker bar to get some of them loose. Put a jack stand under the axle now. Go. And then I can lower the jack. These two pieces have been mated for a few years, so it might need a little convincing to break them up. And there we go. You'll need to unhook this emergency brake line. So I'm just gonna get a little more grease on there. This nut and this washer you can save. This bolt is going to be pretty well rusted straight into the back of the leaf spring, or the front of the leaf spring here. You can try hammering on this, you can try putting heat on it. I didn't have any luck saving mine on the other side. If you can save it, you can save yourself $5 or $6 or $8 or whatever the bolt costs. But like I said, I didn't have any luck, so I'm going to show you what I had to do. And so I have my angle grinder here. What I'm going to try to do is get it inside, oh, the handle's in the way, inside here effectively. And that way I can just about sandwich this thing so I can cut off the bolt. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get in there, but it worked on the other side. It works the best with a brand new wheel. If this one wears down, you might want to get another one so you get every 1/8 inch or 16th inch that you can get. You might have to bend this piece just a little bit, just so you can actually get your grinder sandwiched around there good enough. Otherwise, you might not have a very good angle. So as you can see, we've gotten maybe halfway or 3/4, but I'm hoping that's enough that I can just break the rest of it with a sledgehammer. That's broken off. Now we just need to do the same to the inside. So here's the first wheel I used, and here's a brand new one. You can see that I've worn off almost, maybe not quite a 1/4 inch yet, but when you need every 1/4 inch you can get to get through this bolt, then just start with a new wheel. So after I put on a new wheel, I was able to get it broken free, and now this is just sitting free now. Now we get to play the same game in the backside. We're going to remove this nut just to save it. The bolt, I couldn't get mine out, so I'm just gonna cut it off again, getting my grinder in here and here. And the moment of truth. Let's see if we can break this off. Of course not. And that's it. The hard part is over. We now have room to put in our new spring. To remove the shock, it's just these two bolts here. This is the existing hardware. I just want to clean it up on my bench grinder. Just the wire, just to get the rust off. It might make the job easier. You could probably skip it if you want to, but I'd recommend it. Next, I've got these brand new bolts. I got them from the dealership. 1158, 8857. You could probably get away with some different bolts, but when dealing with this kind of stress, I just figured for the $6 or $8 or whatever they were, just peace of mind. It's a little bit awkward to do your own. You should be able to figure it out. Here's one of the nuts that I saved. It's a little bit tricky getting this back one lined up, and so I just use a jack to get about the right height, and this wrench to get it close. Bolt went in from the left side, but I've got this little exhaust pipe here in the way, and so I'm just going to come in from this side. Now the next guy that tries to fix this is probably going to get mad at me because he can't pound from this side, but I couldn't either, and it was rusted in, so he's probably going to have to cut it off just the same, so who cares? I'm going in from this side. Originally, we were trying to hook the wrench on here, but it was actually getting stuck in the spring. So we're going to try to hook onto this bolt instead. Just pull that down if I can. And we're in. You can tighten up these nuts now. So I'm going to go ahead and jack this up. Now I need to align a little hole at the top of the leaf spring that feeds into a hole in the bottom of this. So I'm just going to line that up. Good deal. Go ahead and reinstall your new strut if you have one. I recommend it. They're cheap enough to might as well do it in this job. This strut will appear to be a little bit too long, but you can just push it in by hand and then try to get it in there. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you can get it. Now we want to mount the e-brake cable, but this Dorman spring that I got, this is a lot higher than the OEM one was. The OEM one was pretty much right down next to the top of the spring. Now on this right side, it seems like there's a decent amount of play, and I probably could get away with just flattening these out and then sticking it on there, but it's just too tight here for my liking. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill a hole down near the bottom like the OEM one was. And you can see that this is a little bit narrower than this is, so I'm just going to flatten these also. Might even break off. If they do, that's fine. And I'm good to go. And with that, we are done with the back. We have our new spring in, we have our new shock in, everything's torqued down. Just put the wheel back on and we're set with the back. Now let's do the front strut. It's just back here, it's no leaf spring. I just buy the entire assembly all together. That way I don't have to deal with getting a spring compressor and putting it together and all that. I think I got, this is just a Unity. I don't know the brand. It's just a cheap thing. This is an old truck. I don't put a ton of miles on it. I'm not too worried about it. So get started. So the shock has 3 nuts on top. One you can get into from here, the other from under the hood, and then this right down here. So let's take those off. Next, I want to remove this upper ball joint. So I'm just going to spray it with some more thrust. Just get it a little loose, help me get it off. Getting this ball joint nut off is a pain because I can't fit a socket in there. But you can get it with an open-end wrench. Just be patient and keep working at it. I've got the nut loose but not off. And so now I'm just going to try to break free this ball joint, and then I'll take the nut off the rest of the way. There we go. I've got the upper ball joint nut off, so now I'm going to lower my jack and looks like it's caught on something. Alright, and we are free. Careful of these brake cables, so let's adjust those. I'm going to see if I can loosen up these brake cables a little bit. This is just I think it's electrical for the ABS. So you don't have to be too super careful, but I don't want to have any tension in it, so. There we go. Just a little clip on the back of this. Let's see if I can pinch that. That pops right off. Now I got some room to work with. I'm going to go ahead and take off this torsion rod here now. Maybe. Okay, thing to be aware of is that I did end up breaking this bolt that goes up through there. So I'm going to have to take that somewhere, probably get welded or something. I have had some success on the other side by actually taking out these 4 bolts here to actually get the whole lower ball joint out. Then you can just slide it this way and free up the bottom. That frees up the control arm too. That might be the safer approach, as it's a replaceable part in case something goes wrong. We can get this thing out of here. Good deal. It wasn't as clean and elegant as I would have liked, but I did get this out. I wish there was a better way. I don't like how much tension I ended up putting on the brake line just to get the thing out, but I have a new one ready to go in, and I'm just going to finish the job. Pay attention to the orientation of the shock. You want this to be the side with the bolt. If you flip it around and have it backwards, then these won't line up with what you're putting it in. So make sure you have the orientation just right. That's in. Let me get one of these nuts started so it stays. Now I can jack underneath it and get myself in position to get that back in there. Okay, try on something to see if I can squeak it back in there. There we go. Got shock in. Get the upper ball joint nut back on. And we're almost done. Now we can go ahead and tighten on the bottom of the shock. And we'll seat this upper ball joint again. And we're finally done. This is not the easiest job that you can do on this truck. There's a lot of grinding and dealing with rusty parts and maneuvering things. But if you're patient and want to save some money, then I hope this helped. Take care.